Yellow jackets are dangerous. Nobody wants them around. In this video, I'm going to show you 4 natural methods of getting rid of yellow jackets. I found most of these methods online, so I decided to test them for myself. Some of these methods did work and some did not. These are the methods I used. A shop vac to suck them right out of the nest, a free electric fly swatter from Harbor Freight. Instead of using batteries, I hooked up a transformer so I could have it out there for a long period of time without running out of batteries. Then I carefully slid it into position at the opening of their nest. Another method I've seen a lot of people using is take meat and screw it to the underside of a board, then fill a bin of soapy water so when they grab the meat, they'll drop and drown in the water. So you lay the board with the meat right over the water. Another method would be to take one of these Sam's Club chicken containers and just drill a hole right in the clear container so they can go in and not get out. So let me go into some of the details on which ones worked and which ones didn't. So we'll start with some of the details on the shop vac method. I've seen some people put water in here, but I wanted to try it dry first. Dry method definitely works. After I tried that, I tried putting water in it with a little bit of soap. The idea is when the yellow jacket hits the soapy water, they won't be able to get out and they'll drown. I found that both the dry and the wet both worked. My concern with the dry is that they may fly back out at me. They didn't. They were all pretty stunned. The only problem with the water is they start to rot and they stink. They're definitely not flying out of this soapy water. Let me show you how I hooked up this shop vac so I didn't need a ladder, because I don't want to be on a ladder with a bunch of mad yellow jackets. Actually better to do this at night because there's no yellow jackets out at night. The opening to the nest was pretty high up there, so I did need to extend the hose. So I took a cardboard tube and I duct taped it to the hose. Then I taped this tube to some electrical conduit. That way I can hoist it up to the opening of the nest without a ladder. Then turn it on and start sucking up yellow jackets. Now, to save electricity and save wear and tear on your motor, you can run this 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at night, because they all leave the nest in the morning and they all come back at night. So on this experiment, I did end up killing the motor on the shop vac. So I wanted to keep the experiment running, so I took this old vacuum cleaner, cut the top off an old pop bottle. Then I put the top of the pop bottle into the end of the hose and sealed it up with a little hot glue. Removed my old motor and just jammed the hose right into the old shop vac. Then when I plug it back in, we're back in business. So overall, this method of sucking up the yellow jackets seems to work, but I'm not sure if we're going to get the queen this way. We're certainly taking the population down. Let's take a look at the next method. We're going to take this free Harbor Freight fly swatter. I've seen a lot of people using them online, so I want to give it a try. The concept here is you electrocute the yellow jackets. D cells are not that common these days, and I don't want to keep replacing them. So I'm going to take a 3-volt transformer and just hook it up instead of the batteries. So I just soldered these clips on so I can run it off a house current instead of the batteries. The problem is these yellow jackets are so smart, when you slide something in their path, they figure out a way to get around it. No matter what you do, they completely avoid it. And in this case, I can't seal it to the wall. And if I did block their exit off, they'd find another way in and out. If this nest was in the ground, I could set it right on top and get them coming in and get them coming out. But in this application, this is not working. The next natural method is you take meat, because yellow jackets like rotted meat. I'll use a washer and just screw it onto this old piece of wood. Then I'll take a bin and fill it up with soapy water. I've seen this quite a few times on YouTube, and the concept is when the yellow jacket grabs the meat, they'll be heavier, they'll drop down a couple inches, and they'll drown. The soap in the water breaks the surface tension so the yellow jacket can't get out. So now you'll take this board with the meat, lay it across, and just let the meat rot. No matter what I did, I couldn't get this method to work very well. I adjusted the water level, I poured fruit juice into it, I put extra meat floating in the container. It attracted maggots and it smells really bad. Everybody complained about this test. It stunk so bad, I decided to run another test. I took a Sam's Club chicken container with the old chicken in it, drilled a hole big enough to where a yellow jacket could get in, but might have a hard time figuring out how to get out. I was hoping they'd smell the rotted meat and go in, and I wouldn't have to smell the rotted meat. Well, I didn't smell the rotted meat, and they didn't go in there. So this method did not work. So far, the only natural method I have seen that works is the shop vac method. The problem with this method is it does not get the queen. She's still in there laying more eggs. So now, after all these experiments, I do have one method that always works. It's real cheap, real easy, but it is not natural. So first I take an old plastic container and I cut it in half. I've also used a piece of PVC cut in half. That'll work as well. Basically, what I'm after is half a tube that I can glue right underneath the entry point of where the yellow jackets are going into the house. So when I get this half tube cut out, I'm gonna hot glue it right into position, and I'm gonna put some insecticide on there. A lot of people use this 7 Dust, and this works. You don't need to buy that special stuff that you spray on there and it costs an arm and a leg. I've also used this stuff from Ortho. It works too. So at night, and yeah, you want to do it at night because they're in their nest and they're not active. I really don't even want the flashlight while doing this, but the camera needs it. So I'll take 1 scoop of this 7 Dust and just put it right in the cylinder. And if there's any other surface area that you can take and put this and spread it around, when the yellow jackets drag this into the nest, it'll eventually kill the queen and the entire nest. After about 2 or 3 days, you're gonna see a lot less activity. Instead of these yellow jackets flying around, they'll just kind of crawl in and out of the nest. In about 2 weeks, there'll be no activity. So if you're watching this video and you've got a technique that's natural, that works, please list it below. Any comments would be appreciated, and I can give some more ideas a try. Well, I hope you found the video useful, or at least entertaining. And if you did, please give the video a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.